Dear Tony, other than very few exceptions, most recruiters I've either spoken with or helped coordinate phone screens with hiring managers usually do not provide feedback to me after the phone screens. I am curious to have a recruiter really work for me. I'm sorry, I'm curious of how to have a recruiter really work for me to help find my next opportunity. Most important, how can I work with them more effectively? Signed, Frank. So, Sandra, let's bounce this back to you. Of course, executives love recruiters in theory because they're seen as gatekeepers to great opportunities, but they hate them in practice because they don't routinely call them back and often they disappear without providing any kind of feedback. So, what fundamentally does a senior executive need to understand about recruitment that seems to escape so many of us? What's happening there?
Well, the landscape has changed. Um, in the '08 recession, I had for the first time, I had been headhunting for about 10 years, and I had a lot of my clients who were CFOs and CEOs asking me to help them find work. And my firm instructed me to say, we'll keep an eye out for you, which is basically recruiter speak for don't call me, I'll call you. And I didn't. I said, look, we're paid to find people for jobs. We're not paid to find jobs for people. And, I even showed one of my clients my database and said, we have 450 jobs we're working on, and only 12 of them are over 200K because of the dynamic that I shared with you before. Well, now what has happened since then is that's just amplified. You know, it used to be when I first started headhunting that you if you had a role that was 200K and above, you just called a headhunter. That's what you did. Because you certainly weren't going to spin your Rolodex around and start calling people back when phone numbers changed, right? And even if you did call a few people, you weren't going to take the time to ask them who they know. Well, now they do because they just go on LinkedIn. You click first and second degree connections and you search your network. I haven't sat down with a CEO or a PE firm in the last 10 years that hasn't told me they've already searched their LinkedIn, not just their first degrees, but their second degrees. Then they call me. So when the headhunter gets the job, their job then is to fill that role. Now, if it gets as far as a headhunter, normally it's because they're looking what recruiters call a purple squirrel, meaning it probably doesn't exist in nature, but there are rumors and legends that they do, and they want you to go out and find them. And that's what they're paying you a very large fee for. So unless you fit the criteria that the client has paid you to go find, they're not going to have any interest in you. Also, there's the pull and the push dynamic. Okay, if recruiters know that if you're sourcing them out, you're maybe what they consider low hanging fruit because you're desperate and you're not being snatched up by everybody. My client's paying me to go out there and find people, source people that are in demand from everybody. So I'm out there searching on LinkedIn. There's been times that I found somebody on LinkedIn and I've called to recruit this person and he said, I sent you an email 4 weeks ago because I'm too busy focusing on what my client wants me to do. So the strategy becomes, how do you become the headhunted? How do you make sure they're finding you? How do you make sure that when I call somebody up and I say, he says, I'm not the guru, that that person that they mention is you? That's the best strategy to get in and work with a recruiter. Keep in mind one other thing. It is a process of elimination. So when recruiters get down to the final rounds, and we're going to say 3 people is usually the final rounds of what you want to submit to your client. First of all, you're not going to submit a fourth. Once they're trying to decide between 3 people, because they're all so wonderful, you're not going to muddy the waters with 4. Secondly, if you are the front runner, the recruiter will work for you. But what they're going to work for you with is a clear understanding of what value you bring to the table. So that branding message that you have with your whole network is the same branding message that you want to relay to the recruiter. Because if they end up looking good to their client, and helping you out at the same time, it's a win-win for everybody.